child that your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place? Undercover of my skin, I've heard all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking. Undercover of my skin, I've heard all your...
Hey, and welcome to the Inside Running podcast Shoe Geeks episode, December 2021 edition. I'm joined with Sunday night with Tommy DeCanto over in Sydney, the new crowned 10,000 metre New South Wales state champion. How you travelling over there?
Thanks, mate. I'm good. Yep.
The king.
I'm a bit tired.
How'd you pull up?
Probably had about 3 hours sleep last night.
Yeah.
I'm fine. My calves are actually a little bit sore.
Yep. That makes sense. 25 laps in the Dragonfly. So.
Yeah.
Straight in the long run, though. Maybe they're sore from the long run.
I'm just tired.
And Julian over in Anglesea, the owner of the running company Ballarat. How are you travelling, mate? And back into maybe 7th, 8th week of training now post knee surgery?
Yeah, I'm running now. So I've been trying different shoes. Felt good today, my first run, where I got a little bit of confidence back from fitness. Body feels good. And going downhill now, I can actually load my knees, whereas before, well, my right knee especially, I could barely go downhill.
That's the key, isn't it? Downhills load that patellofemoral joint more, doesn't it? So it's good that you can start doing that a bit more, especially where you live, where downhills is like the norm.
Yeah, a lot of trails as well. So being more stable on the trails is good. And even going faster, I've got this range. So, you do a standing quad stretch. I could never do that before because my knee would hurt too much. Whereas now I can actually stretch my quads, and that makes a big difference when you're running fast to get that sort of
backside. Yeah, that's
thing.
good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's good. And are you starting to find you're getting more it doesn't matter what shoe you're wearing anymore? Like I found when I came back from injury, I was really sensitive to what shoes I was wearing when I first came back. Whereas now, after a couple of months of consistency, I could put almost any shoe on and sort of find I could just deal with it at the time. Whereas when I was first coming back into running after, you had 4 weeks off, was that right? Or 6 weeks?
I think it was about 4. Yeah. 4.
Yep. Are you getting more variety in your footwear going now?
I am, but also I'm finding some shoes I really like. Yep. So I'm not really straying too far from it. And I'm not buying that many. There haven't been many releases lately. Yeah. So I'm not getting sucked into new models. So I'm happy with my lineup. I did manage an Achilles niggle, so that required certain shoes for a little bit, maybe a couple of weeks. But now once you get over those Achilles niggles, you can put some fun shoes in the lineup.
Well, tell us your lineup. Tell us what you've been circling between you. Tell us a bit about how much, what are you running at the moment in terms of how much volume, and then obviously the shoes you're using for slow runs and fast sessions at the moment.
Yes, so I'm running this week was 90K a week, and I'm doing 2 sessions. One of them, both of them, to be honest, are more threshold-based sessions. So one of them might be a little slower, a bit longer, and the other one might be progression and faster. I'm using pretty much exclusively Alpha Fly for that. I've tried them now. I've tried the models that are out there, and that is what I go back to every time. Mm-hmm. Fits better, feel good. I mean, I'm even warming up and cooling down in it some days because it feels so good to run in. And
that's a man that owns a shoe shop.
Mate, there's 40 mil of cushion. It's not a racing flat. Can we call it? There's a new name, Super Shoe, and you can jog in Super Shoes.
You can, yeah.
I've been just I did one workout in the Adios Pro 2, but it went terribly and I got sore calves from it. So that's out now.
That makes sense. You did call it your calf breaker, didn't you? I've got a pair just showing here. This is the Adios Pro 2.
Hold on, let me pull you up.
Yep, Adios Pro 2. This is the lateral side with the concavities, and obviously you see the base. You can see the rods. The continental outsole, nice and thin, small surface area at the back. and on the medial side, it's tough to tell from the footage, but a bit of a medial flare through the midsole. So, meaning it just sort of inverts the foot a little bit, I reckon. So, I'll go into mine later on, but I'll talk about wearing that this month as well. But so you tried it out, and for a threshold type workout.
It was 8 by 2 minutes on, 1 minute jog. So it was supposed to be a bit faster. And my body wasn't great. I had a sore back at the time. But every time I stray from the alpha, I question why I do it. So there's no more of that. We're back.
How did it feel in comparison?
It felt firmer. It felt less forgiving. I felt like I needed to hit the sweet spot better in the Adios rather than the Alpha, where I had just a wider footprint and a lot more of a generous kind of strike. Like I could land quite a few different ways, and I know that that's in contrast to some people who say that they need to hit the sweet spot with the Alpha. But for me, I can land in a few different areas on that shoe and still feel good. But that's the fun shoe. I've actually today I ran in a pair of shoes that I think could be the most underrated shoe I've ever worn. And I've been thinking about getting this shoe for a while because it's been sitting there and I've tried it and it makes sense for me, but I just didn't need it. And then I forgot my shoes when I went to Ballarat the other day and I had to get something. And I'm like, perfect, this is going to force me to get it. Mm-hmm. But it's this shoe right here. It's called the Saucony Endorphin Shift. It's in the Endorphin family with the more popular Speed, and then there is also the Pro. Those are more performance-focused shoes, whereas this one is an EJ shoe. It doesn't have that Run PB midsole. It just has, I'm not even sure what they call it, but it feels like they call it Power Run. It's firm EVA, and it's really firm. Like when I press on it, I'm thinking this shoe would feel terrible to run in because of how hard and firm it is. But it has this speed roll technology the Endorphins kind of are famous for, which is that rocket feel. So it's got a bit of rocket to it. And underneath the foot, you have so much cushion, so much soft that you don't feel anything. So I was running on dirt roads today, a bit of fire road, some really rocky trail, and I just didn't feel anything because there's so much midsole that's not soft and spongy between me and the ground. And there's so much guts under my foot that I never bottom it out. I do get quite annoyed at the moment, like some of these shoes. Nimbus Light's one of them, where my foot feels like it goes through the cushion and I feel like I'm hitting the deck and I'm bottoming the shoe out really quickly and easily. And even the Invincible to a degree.
Near the end of the run for Invincible for sure. Yep.
So this shoe here, because it's so thick and it's still real dense EVA, I felt like invincible in this during the run. And
it's a really good call, Julian. I reckon since my runs of like easy jogs have stretched out from 30 to 40 minutes out to about an hour now as well. So those shoes that are slightly firmer midsoles now, I'm gravitating to because they feel better by the end of the run. They're not changing. And it's, I reckon, when do we interview Jared Ward? Was it like episode 2?
Ooh, a while ago. It could be a year ago.
And he talked about using that shoe as like the preparation for the Adios Pro and some of his long workouts, didn't he? We haven't talked about that shoe since. That's the first time we've talked about it since, I reckon.
Yeah. And look, we don't do. It's been a tough one because it's like not quite a hocker, so you're not going to get a lot of the referral type customers into it.
Yep.
It's not fast, so the fast customer is going to go for the Endorphin Speed.
Well, how's it fit? Is it broad or is it narrow? Or?
No, it's pretty medium. So I had to. You can see the lacing. I actually had to really quite. The first run, my foot went a bit numb, so I had to open the lacing out and lace lock it in the heel. Just because it was loose up front, I needed to secure the heel, so that's how I did it. So it's got this real wrap, like you can see it just sort of on the outside of the upper there, which again, perfect for me today, which was on trails. I could go down hills with a lot of confidence. At the back, has this plastic heel cup that runs
Yeah.
all the way from sort of the midfoot area, quite strong, all the
Bit
way
of a
around
guide
to the
rail.
medial.
Bit of a guide rail
It
going on.
is.
Yeah.
And you can see on the medial side, it dips down into the midsole. So that creates almost like a post.
Yep.
So there's actually some sort of protection, or not protection, but guidance for me, because I do pronate pretty heavily. Got a 4 mil drop.
4 mil, yeah, there you go. Yep.
4 mil, like, again, I'm a midfoot striker, so it feels really natural not to have a big lump under my heel. Solid heel cup and just a lot of shoes. You can see the footprint. It's following the trend now of wider footprints for stability. You can see full contact outer sole. Not a lot of rubber, so exposed foam. That's one thing that we don't know how it's going to wear over time, especially where I run. But that's what gives it a little bit more softness, not having like hard rubber outer
I guess
sole.
my question is, Julian, like they got released with the Endorphin Pro 1 and 2, and there's obviously been the update for the Pro 2 and even the Speed 2. Did they go on with the Shift? They were their second model, the Shift, or?
This is no good for a shoe owner. This is actually the Shift 2.
It is, yeah, okay.
It is different. It's the same midsole. I think it was just an upper change.
So it is accessible. It is easy to find in retail, or is it hard to find in retail?
Not really. It's not the most popular shoe. It's not stocked by a lot. We only got it for men just to give it a try.
Yeah.
Even on foot, you've got a shoe like the Glide Ride that would probably competes with, and the Glide Ride is a little more rocketed. It's a little more sort of it's going to fit the customer who wants some sort of Achilles unloading a little more. This is a pretty niche little area of someone like me who wants a hard foam.
Is that still good for like a bit of midfoot stiffness and forefoot stiffness as well?
It is. It's a stiff shoe, so it needs to. I think it'll get better in another 100 Ks, but at the moment, like, it's pretty firm through there.
It's interesting because we're starting to see, like, we'll talk about this later on, but about, accessibility of shoes for the next couple of years. Things like even the Hoka Bondi, the Moore V3, all these traditional shoes that we use to try and offload the midfoot and the big toe, they're becoming more sparse now. And the Endorphin Shift is a shoe that I completely forgot about. They're just hard to access as well, but that would probably categorically fall in that area a little bit for not like a pretty traditional width foot.
Yeah, that's like, we're going big on them next year. They I can't really give that sort of stuff away yet, but they are changing next year, and it feels pretty good. Maybe a little more rocket in the newer model.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it actually becomes a little more like we classified it as in between Glide Ride and a Bondi. That's where it's going to fit. Yeah. It's still stiff though.
How would you handle that shoe, Tommy?
My question was going to be what shoe would you compare it to? So you've kind of answered that. As you know, like I don't get along with the low drop stuff. So
you'd add 9 mils to it. You'd add 9 mils to enjoy it, shoe.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it's too much shoe for you. You'd find it heavy, and you'd find it clunky. Whereas to me,
I find that with the Glide Ride. I was saying to someone the other day, the Glide Ride I enjoy if I'm on like a dead flat surface, steady sort of pace. But as soon as it's like hills, any hill, it just feels clunky. And heavy.
Remember that run we went for in the SMA conference, Tommy? The first time we went for found a trail and I was wearing the Glide Ride and rolled my ankle like 9 times.
No, Nova Blast and Glide Ride are not made for trail.
We were on a trail today, and I had these on, and I actually, like, for the first time in years, bombed down the downhill, and the guy behind me is using his Zoom Flies as an excuse why he couldn't keep up. But fair, pretty fair. They're not a good trail shoe, the old Zoom Fly.
No, they're not. So, what else have you been wearing, Julian? Now that you're getting back into it, has that been a pretty staple shoe, or you've been running in traditional shoes as well? Yeah,
well, it's hard to find traditional shoes. Like, they're still out there. I don't have many. I like I've been running in the Invincible, the Glide Ride, the Shift.
It's a lot of shoe. They're all a lot of shoe.
I know. And I put the 880, and I'm like, oh, this is like being back in a racing flat from the olden days. The Vongo, another shoe. It's got a lot under it. I can't get away with less. I just love shoe. I love just not like my foot coming down and just having a meat of protection underneath it, just a big slab.
Are you weighing a bit less now? You're doing a lot of cross training and stuff as well. And what are you wearing the cross trainer?
Pegasus, because they're narrow and they can fit in the
the cavity.
The cavity. It's the narrowest shoe I got. I tried to get on with my Stinsons the other day, and they were actually bigger than the paddle. What did I wore the Magic Speeds from Asics for one of the workouts.
Surely you put a heel pitch in that shoe
for the elliptical. No.
Oh, for the elliptical, yeah.
For the elliptical, got on the race shoe. Looks good to walk into the gym with.
That's a tough shoe, that one. That shoe is dramatically changing the next year coming out as well. I was lucky enough to see that from Asics recently as well, but the shoe is almost more like, like a dense Magic Speed coming out for the following year. So that I didn't mind the Magic Speed for juniors, to be honest. Like, the super shoe world, people sort of gravitating towards it, kids wearing a bit more shoe with a bit of a rocker, less heel pitch to it. But I have also seen a lot of Achilles issues in the senior runners going to try and run tempo runs in the Magic Speed, just because the rocker starts so far, like proximally, so far back in the shoe with low heel pitch, soft heel. And I think the carbon's only within the first 2/3 of the shoe. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. So, but that shoe dramatically gets a facelift for 2022.
Yeah. We did well with it in that space as well. Like $250 is a funny price point. It would have gone better a little less. I reckon it would have gone better at like $220 or something. Just because it isn't quite a super shoe, and it's good for someone who is doing some track work, some cross country, that kind of stuff. But they're not getting a Pebax foam with it. They're not getting like the Metaspeed Sky that costs $3. What was that? That was a bit anyway. $330 maybe. It would have been a little bit better price for the juniors. We did a lot to juniors as well, but there's always that thing. You bring out a $250 shoe for a junior athlete. It's their second shoe, and it's like mum and dad are like, oh, this is just a once a week shoe. I'm not sure.
But still a better shoe than the Edge. Like the Edge is this impossible shoe. Like I put on a Sky on 1 foot the other day, and an Edge with it as well. So Matty Glias, who works at the running company in Adelaide as well, I put PS both. I put one on 1 foot and one on the other, and they just, like, the Sky felt so much better than the Edge. I just could not believe that the stack height of the foam could feel so different. So that Edge shoe really, is a bit of a niche, grass surface, perhaps more compliant surface, doesn't boom as much, but definitely on the road, hitting it really hard. The Sky felt like a way better shoe. So
interesting. Yeah, that's me. That's me done.
What about you, Tommy? Tell us why your carbs are sore, mate. So you ran 10Ks last night in the Dragonfly, 2 weeks out from the Melbourne Marathon. State champion, though, so it's got to feel good to run 29.09, is that right?
Yeah, 29.09.
Yep.
It was a good night. The track was pretty hard, and the Dragonflies are a bit old. So I reckon... Yep, got it. Yeah, I don't know, like 8K into it, just started to feel the cars slightly. But then, thinking back, like compared to Matumbos, I reckon would have been sore like 2K in Matumbos, which I've done 10K track Matumbos before. But I use the Dragonflies like every Wednesday, so I'm somewhat conditioned to it. It's just I normally use them on like a really nice soft synthetic oval. It was quite.
Is that why they cooked? Because you use them every Wednesday, or
pretty much.
You're gonna need a new pair for Zatopek.
I got a fresh pair waiting. Yeah, I didn't want to use the Zatopek pair. I got a pair waiting.
Good.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, other shoes, like I, to be honest, as I said to you guys before, I haven't been running anything new or exciting. So I've pretty much been wearing
last night.
You won't like this.
Hyperion Tempo.
Rebel V2. Yeah.
Okay.
I've actually been
Right.
running in the Rebel V2 and the Invincible a little bit, and so yeah, I've been getting a little bit of that bottoming out thing that you guys just spoke about. But
I'd be bad in the Rebel.
yeah, you feel in the Rebel, but like the enjoyment of it's still there. Like even though it does feel like towards the end of a like 12, like 10K in maybe, still fun. It's still light and soft.
And you're pretty lightweight at the moment, aren't you, Tommy? What do you weigh? Like 65 probably, you reckon?
I wish. No, I'm down. I'm probably like, I was hovering. I'm like 72 when I'm just not racing.
Yeah.
But then I'm down to like probably 69 now.
Okay.
So, yeah, the shoe preference does change slightly. Even like I reckon 3 or 4 kilos, it can change slightly.
Yeah. And how you're feeling too, like how fit you are.
Yeah,
definitely changes
absolutely.
for me.
Yeah.
I reckon Julian will go to slightly less shoe within the next 2 to 3 months, my guess.
I've just made a claim it's the best shoe. I'm not leaving it. It's my new home.
Yeah, I reckon you'll go a little bit less, I guess.
Yeah. No, I haven't worn the Hyperion Tempo for a while. I do like that shoe though.
Another one. The bottom.
What else?
So what's your long run shoe at the moment? That's probably the biggest thing people see on Strava. Tommy running between 30 to 35 Ks. What are you wearing for that now? Still the Rocket X or what?
Yeah, I need a new shoe. For this purpose. So you can give me some recommendations, but I've just about cooked the Rocket X. So I've still been using it. Like I wore it today. Yeah, it's a great long run.
How are we going to recommend shoes, Nitta, for a long run shoe when he wears a carbon race, like a race day shoe for long runs? What are you going to throw at him?
Well, it's tough because Tommy's really like pretentious with weight, aren't you? Like weight's a big deal for you, isn't it? Yeah. And your long runs are pretty important. So I don't know. Like if you put a traditional like heavy on you for like at the moment, all my long runs. I mean, could you happily wear a Nova Blast for your long run, or you just that's too clumsy for you?
No. Like Nova Blast was my long run shoe before Rocket X.
There you go. Yeah. So I would say go back to a Nova Blast 2, like a bit 8mm pitch. It's not that heavy. It's relatively responsive out of the sort of range of high stack shoes, I'd say.
Endorphin Speed. What do you reckon? I'm thinking I might get it.
I think the Endorphin Speed is still a little bit. It's a bit too rapid for a long run, but you're wearing a Rocket X. Like I can't wear that shoe for a long run as well. So yeah, so
Endorphin Speed is one of the best shoes in the industry and has changed the game a little there.
It's funny. One of the guys I saw, he's a podiatrist over in Tassie, Angus Lanecki. I think you sold him a pair of like Air Victories a while back. Julian, he's a nice guy. He's actually got a pair of RC Elite 2s, and he's a middle distance runner, and he's been wearing the RC Elite 2 for a few of his longer runs. It's a bit. You don't run quite as quick in it as you would in a Vaporfly. Maybe Tommy would get along with an RC Elite 2 for a long run.
Maybe. It's probably just the stability that's the problem there. Especially, they are so soft.
They are.
Incredibly soft. And they don't have the width to back that up.
Yep.
So you do fall off the shoe a bit. Nearly everyone falls off that shoe.
There's a couple of good shoes coming out in 2022, which you probably can't talk about yet, Julian, but there's some coming up in the future that you might like as well from New Balance or,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The one that, it was due. It's going to be too heavy for Tom. Tom, what's your weight limit? What's the maximum you'll wear?
Like 230 grams.
Okay, it's too heavy.
Yeah.
230?
230 is light, mate. That's a racing flat, mate.
Yeah, but in my size, it's like 280.
Yeah, gotcha. 13. Yeah.
Still, there's not a lot of jogging shoes that are under 230. Maybe one.
I'm just trying to look at my shoes. This is my shoes here in the corner. I was thinking, looking at all these ones through here, I reckon. Actually, Tom, what about the Aurora from Brooks? The one that the one we.
So I've been running heaps. I've been running heaps in the Aurora.
Yeah, so that's been probably
a good long run in that.
Yeah, it's responsive. It's still soft underfoot. The fit's probably the only issue is the fit's not perfect. But it's still a nice shoe. Like underfoot, I've worn this shoe probably more than anything else this last month. Yeah,
that's one shoe. Yeah.
Sorry, 10 days to the marathon, is it? 10 days? 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, and you've got your shoe selection sorted for them. Like we won't talk to you before then. You're sorted.
No, yeah. So I'll be in the Next Percent version 1.
Even though it's less performance enhancing, than the Alpha Fly.
Individual variation. Hey?
Yeah, individual.
I don't know.
variation. You know
did a
this.
study. We had him
That's
on.
the average. We went over this.
Tom, have you? I mean, some people are really like overkill with this. Have you done anything like 20K runs at marathon pace, measuring heart rate? Oh, sorry, you don't use heart rate, do you?
You know I'm not scientific. You know I'm not like you
okay.
guys. I go by feel. I go by feel. So no, it for starters, the Alpha Fly gave me like really sore feet after 20K, which was
That's
odd.
one attempt. It could have been other reasons, you know.
Mm.
No, that was weird. And then
But
it
those
just felt
bombs
like it was
suck.
changing my stride.
Okay.
No, it was changing my stride too much. I prefer a higher cadence, which the next percent facilitates better.
All right.
me.
Locked
true.
in.
Yeah, that is true.
It's definitely locked in. Like, it's not even a question for me anymore. Like, I eventually was bullied into getting the Alpha Fly by you two, and yeah, it was. I was optimistic. I was excited and optimistic about it. But
all right, Tom. Hypothetical. You get to the start line. You have your shoes ready. Some guy comes and steals them, but someone comes up to you and offers you any other shoe that you're going to wear. What's the second shoe you wear on that day?
Definitely Asics Metaspeed Sky. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
I've really enjoyed that shoe. I wear that shoe, so I've been wearing that, alternating between that shoe and the next percent most Saturdays.
Yep. Have you had Jason come to Sydney yet to sort of discuss the Metasky 2? Yeah.
No. But from what you said, the Sky 2 sounds good. Yeah.
So it looks like a bit more surface area in the forefoot. It looks lighter, which will suit you to the T. Yeah, I think Julian will like the shoe as well, to be honest. I think he'll probably actually gravitate to it a bit more than average as well. So
good. We'll see.
What
have you been wearing, Nitta?
Everything, mate. I've been all my sessions have been sort of mixed between super shoes at the moment. The one I've gravitated to for the track sessions has been the. Granted, I'm doing more sort of high intensity work and less threshold work, so I've been wearing the Adios Pro 2 for reps of 4s. You know, some threshold work. I definitely don't find it quite as comfortable or stable when I'm running sub maximally, but when I'm running 400 meter reps, etc., this is the one shoe that I can get close to race pace. Feeling probably because it's firmer under the foot, to be honest. I find it quite responsive, and I feel like I'm falling out the shoe less when the pace is higher. So the Adios Pro 2 has been my go-to in terms of sessions at the moment, and I've mixed that between wearing. I've got staple shoes that I've been wearing for volume. I actually put on an old pair of 4% that I actually wore at Steigen in 2018 when I ran 31 low, right? And that shoe, I remember being the softest shoe on the market. I haven't worn the shoe much for about 2 to 3 years. And I sent you guys a message, and I'm not sure if it's because I've got like a handful of so many super shoes with more foam now, but it felt really firm and hard. And I'm just wondering if the foam has either deteriorated. Have you guys experienced that with any shoes that you've had for 2 to 3 years, put them back on down the track with a Zoom X or whatever, and been like, this shoe is not what it was 3 years ago? I have no idea if it's in my head from wearing new shoes or if the foam is actually deteriorating, but I would not race in that shoe anymore.
I don't think that I've ever put a shoe on after not wearing it for 2 or 3 years. Like, I can't see why I would want to do that.
Well, mate, I put them on because I have them, right? They're the Flyknit version, and maybe everyone says the Flyknit version was maybe firmer anyway. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure.
To me, I felt,
Yeah, so maybe that's just it. Maybe I've just worn the next percent so many more times since then, and the Alpha Fly, the shoe just feels firmer. So I actually wore them for a couple of sessions on surfaces that are more compliant. So I've actually found the shoe good on soft surface. I found the 4% too firm on a hard surface. So I think that's that's an age-orientated thing, perhaps. Sensitive. I'm not sure.
That's a sorry state.
Yeah. Oh, Nitta. We lost you.
Yeah,
he's gone.
And I've worn the Dragonfly in some workouts. I raced a 1500 in a pair of Dragonflies and pulled up pretty good. But last night I ran the old man's state 5K here in South Australia in the Alpha Fly. So because you can over 35, you can wear the old man's shoe.
Says who?
Oh, I can't believe you did that.
I did. And
who said that's okay?
I know in our rules through here, you sort of they'll have discretion for people that aren't under 20s and open. And if you run in an open race and you're over 35, you will still have an asterisk next to your name. But if you run the over 35s, they seem to not question it. So,
It's
and there's no way.
It's okay to dope in the overs 35.
But my
Were you in a
calves got
separate race?
Yeah, separate race. Over 35, separate race. Yep. So, mate, last night's race in South Australia, actually the front pack of the South Australian race last night, 1, 2, and 3 were all wearing the new ASICS Meta LD, all the Team Tempo boys, and they ran 13, 40, 40 flat, 44, and 50. So that shoe seems to be. I don't know if you stock it yet. I'm not even sure you stock it yet. But
we haven't been offered that. No.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shoe. Like a lot of midsole. I think it's the highest midsole running spike on the market at the moment for the middle distance running range. That's legal for 1,500 meters plus. So
It looks good.
It does look. I mean, it feels good. I got lucky enough to get a pair, but it was a bit too small for me. So, but they do feel like more foam. Feels more like a traditional flat. It feels closer to the Vaporfly than it does to a track spike, I reckon.
Same foam as the Meta Speed range.
Meta Speed, that's it. And the plate sort of stuck in the shoe. No spike. That's probably the downside. I reckon they could probably add spikes. Yeah, no spike. So you could probably add spikes to it. Makes the shoe a bit better, I reckon. So,
So
it's like small. Understand. It's small plastic teeth. Small plastic teeth around the actual. Like the. It's like a Matumbo. It's almost like a Matumbo plastic sole, but the teeth itself are the grip. So.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, so that was a nice. Yeah. So the Alpha Flyer pulled up pretty well in that. Very clumsy shoe when you try to pick up the pace, but very good shoe to run in when you're not running quite at pace, and when you're a complacent 36-year-old guy running 5K races, they're perfect for a long run the next morning. So,
was there anybody in the race that wore legal shoes?
Yeah, a lot of people did wear Dragonflies. There were a fair few in there, to be honest, in the Masters. But a lot just wore Vaporflies or traditional running shoes. You know, people, by the time you get to 35, you're still running 5Ks on track. Some people are wearing KRNOs, you know, so it's just the way
we
it
had
is.
We had a guy last night that got DQ'd, in our race.
No kidding.
Yeah, he wore Next Percents. I chatted to him briefly before the race. He was concerned about injury risk. I don't know how old he was, but he's probably maybe.
Don't you have the option just to put in the shoe that you're wearing and just wear the asterisk next to your name?
Yeah, so he raced.
Yeah.
And he finished, but his results were not he had no time. He had no time.
I saw the DQ next to his name.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was the guy I spoke to that wore the Next Percents.
You should be getting the time, and you should be getting an asterisk next to the name. So that should be as simple as that. But you guys might have different criteria than what we do. Like we sign in online, and if you put in the name of the shoe that you're wearing.
Oh no, we didn't do that.
New South Wales, classic.
I don't know about the asterisk stuff. It's just not. It should just be not allowed.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like in the open race last night, there was a veteran runner that ran the A race, and he wore a pair of Vaporfly, so he can't wear that, but he was able to run. So whether or not he should give his spot to someone else who wears he's faster in a pair of super shoes than someone who wears a pair of Dragonflies, whether or not he should not get a spot because he's wearing an illegal shoe. That's the question, isn't it? He took someone's spot, didn't he? So he essentially gets a run. In the A race. So what do you guys think of, like, whether, should people get the race and get a result because they're good at running in the super shoe, or do you think they should be saying, actually, if you want to wear a super shoe, you have to run a category of shoe or run a category race that allows you to wear it, like community race or an over 35s race?
Yeah, I think the top race should be playing by the rules. They should all be on the same playing field, because within the race, things can happen that affect the outcome of the race. And some of these might be championship races, like it was South Australia Championships. So,
I mean, the major reason I ended up running over 35 because I was never going to wear a Dragonfly. So I was, I'm still coming back from injury. So I decided to run the over 35s and put an old man shoe on. But at the moment, we have the opportunity to be able to wear a shoe and just put our name down with a fast time, run the A race if we want to, if we've run the time, and wear a super shoe and wear an asterisk here. So it's like there's no continuity between the states here as well. So it must get confusing when sending the results off to World Athletics as well.
So you could potentially run the A race in a pair of alphas get an asterisk.
Yep.
Say you run 15:10.
Yep.
Then you could run in the other race and run 15:10 and your time's actually legit and recorded.
It's a good question. I don't know if my time in over 35s is legit and recorded, so it may not be, to be honest. I'm not sure. Probably not fast enough anyway, so it shouldn't really matter. So, but in saying that, if I ran a B race perhaps and wore an illegal shoe or an over 35s race and I run 14:30 and run a PB, that might become my World Athletics time if I'm over 35 years of age. I actually don't know the answer to that, to be honest. It's a good question. Yeah,
it's so ambiguous at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at what was happening at the local level just in some picks in Ballarat, and it's just no one's checking shoes. You can wear whatever you want. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that stuff goes to World Athletics. It's all AB, it's all AA.
Absolutely, yeah.
All goes up.
I mean, NCAAs are allowing super shoes still as well in some categories. Like, it is confusing when there's no continuity between different high organisations. But, yeah, last night someone did wear a pair of super shoes in the A race, and I don't know whether they get an asterisk on the result, they don't go to World Athletics, or whether they keep it perhaps. I'm not sure. So it is what it is. So I mean, one day they'll probably change the rules within a few months. But anyway, back to the shoes I'm wearing. The shoes I've been wearing the most has probably been the swapping between the Aurora and the Mizuno Wave Sky. The ones we did a review on maybe 2 episodes ago, I reckon. It's softened up a bit more for me for after about 150 Ks, and I've done about 300 in them, and they've been pretty good, to be honest. Like, they're heavy. So for Tom, you'd find them heavy, I'm assuming, the Sky.
They're heavy, but they're enjoyable because they're soft. Yeah.
They're soft, yeah. And they're relatively responsive. Like, they're not like a soft. They're like a responsive soft.
Soft with a pop, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been wearing, now that I'm running more like 80 Ks a week, 70 to 80 Ks a week, I've been wearing shoes that are a little bit firmer, like Julian said at the start of the episode, to wear a shoe that's not bottoming out by the end, but still my go-to shoes when I'm a bit tired and cooked and I'm running more 30, 45 minutes. It's been still the Clifton or the Invincible. Yeah.
Good one.
And that's been the cycle.
Are you still going out casually in your Cliftons, going to pubs and bars in your Cliftons?
That was a holiday, mate. And it was in Tasmania. I fitted right in. But I have to say, Julian's mentioned his most underrated shoe of the year. Tom, you didn't mention your most underrated shoe of the year. Not that needs to. We didn't actually agree that was going to be a thing on this episode. But the most underrated shoe I've found in terms of workouts is still this guy. Still
here we go.
The New Balance 5280. And to be honest, I did a workout in 300s the other day, and it was bringing me back to 2010, 15 times for 300 meter reps. But the 5280, the reason it's so underrated is because it was so hard to access. I got this on Running Warehouse.
Yeah, Running Warehouse bought tons of them.
Yep, and I paid a mortgage for them, maybe $320 for them.
Yeah,
and I think they're about 24, 25 mils. Maybe they're legal for the 1500, but they're not for the 800. I still put a heel pitch in them. This is the outsole's fantastic. It's built for the road mile, but on the track it's brilliant still. So very small surface area. You don't really want to hit the rear foot. Pretty clumsy shoe, but if you hit the forefoot, it's fine. Stiff carbon plate, the fuel cell foam. The upper is terrible. They don't even need laces. The laces don't really do anything. You could probably have the same shoe result without the laces. So, but yeah, I went down half a size, unfortunately. So I do blame Matty Spicer for that. He said they do run a bit small, but they actually run true to size. So
that's the shoe that Ali ran at Doha. 10:31:18.
That's it. That's her shoe. And I told her to put a heel raise in it before the race, but I don't think she ever did. She would have run 31:10 if she.
Not everyone is old and broken like you.
Hey Tommy, what sort of heel raise are you running at the moment?
I got a heel raise in every shoe, mate. Every shoe. I reckon that's part of the reason why I don't get touch wood. I'm getting less Achilles issues because I prophylactically pop the heel raises in now. I don't react to it. I just always have it in.
Do you next percent as well?
So I'm going to race without it.
Wow.
Training, yes, but I'm going to race without it. Yeah.
2 weeks off afterwards.
Reasoning?
I think in the next percent, it does feel a little bit more stable, and it does feel like I'm loading calf a bit more, and I mean the Achilles is your biggest tendon. So if I can get a little bit more extra economy from using my tendon a bit more,
load it up.
I'll use it in the race.
Win the big dollars and take the time off.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Good point you make there.
Yeah.
It's a good point actually around a lower drop shoe being able to utilize the potential energy storage of an Achilles, like that elastic sort of energy.
Absolutely.
One of the reasons they made the Alpha Fly 4 mil drop was to increase how much Achilles involvement there was, and therefore make it more economical, hopefully.
Yep.
Right. I didn't know that was an actual conscious thing.
It was.
Wow. Well, to tell them I put a heel race and it feels better with a heel race.
Well, I think the new one actually, like I have seen photos of it, proper ones, and I think the new one, I'm not sure if it goes up or not, but that's one of the considerations as why some people weren't selecting them over the Vapor, is that the low drop turned them off.
Okay.
And like to increase the commercial nature of it, they might go back up to a higher drop. But
well, Julian, tell me, these shoes are harder to find now, and they're going to be harder to find in 2022. Tell us why.
Yeah, the industry, like it's not even just the footwear industry. It's pretty much every industry is suffering big time in being able to access and get their products out of Asia and into Australia and then into stores. The footwear industry is predominantly based like China, Vietnam, and Vietnam went into lockdown, South Vietnam anyway, for from July or August until October, it was mid-October. And what that means is that everyone's, like all the brands, their footwear just got put on hold, the production of footwear. So everything that was due to arrive sort of early next year, late this year, is now on delay, basically. And the amount that they were able to produce is lower. So if you could imagine that there's this big backlog of product trying to come out of those warehouses.
Yep.
Australia is not necessarily the number one market in the world, so the product that comes up will go to the higher priority markets first, and we'll get we're down the list a bit, the pecking order. Yep. So that's a big problem. We're seeing delays for some of the brands up to like 4 months. Some brands I saw are cancelling their seasons with a lot of retailers. So they're basically just going to a retailer and saying, there'll be nothing for the first half of this year. So from basically December through to May, you won't be getting any product. Again, prioritize the pecking order thing. Shoes will go to the more favoured retailers and distributors or whatever.
Yep.
And that's one of the main problems. And then the second problem is shipping. So there's a shortage of shipping containers, and the price of shipping containers has gone through the roof. And there's a shortage of ships. So COVID has just changed the production in this manufacturing and supply demand whole situation's got way out of whack. The demand is just killing the supply, and that's creating massive delays with shipping. So the Suez Canal drama put a backlog to stuff. Shipping container backlog, as well as the docks. So the docks in a lot of countries, Australia in particular, are having dramas, delays. Well, I'm not sure the exact reason why, but having trouble unloading ships, basically. So even if the product got here, it can't get off the ship.
We heard from the ASICS rep as well. Even the manufacturing process of designing shoes and their function, their outcome, they've been doing a lot digitally now. So like online, so they haven't had the shoe in person. And so where they're being produced, for example, the outcome of the shoe and how its function is might be a bit different to previous or how they've previously designed it. So, if someone, you have like 8 developers from 6 different countries in the world, there's usually feedback from those people, and the shoes in person, you're doing this by a digital platform now. You're not doing it by in-person testing consistently. So the outcomes of some of the shoes and the feedback is going to be done probably maybe more visually. So, that it'll be interesting to see what the shoe not just comfort but functions like in the next couple of years. It'd be almost like someone flukes a perfect shoe, or someone doesn't do very well, and then suddenly the shoe that they've had successful for 20 years just completely changes, for example, as well.
I think it'll come down as well to someone who, like, some of the companies might be based in China rather than in Vietnam, and those that are in China and have their developers on the ground in China, they'll be able to basically like get that right. Whereas if you are in another country and you can't really travel there, and you can't, so like say a shoe designer probably spends half his life in Southeast Asia. And if it is in a country like China, which they've been able to get to, then you might be able to get on top. I know Hoka, the road department, or some of the road shoes were based in North Vietnam, and they didn't go through the same lockdowns as South Vietnam. So they might be more on time than their trail shoes, which I think, maybe it was just a priority thing, but some of the factories in South Vietnam weren't producing anything. And so it came down to a bit of luck which factories that you were producing what.
Yep. So my advice for Tommy is get your next pair of you got your pair of Dragonflies fresh. Get your next pair, the next percent from Julian as soon as you can. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting 12 months, perhaps, or missing it.
Are there brands in particular that are harder hit than others, or did you say it was just across the board, pretty much?
At the moment, there's probably some brand, like how we're finding it is some brands are a little bit more insightful into what's happening, and some are a little more blind. So the feedback that we're getting coming from the Australian sort of distributors and the Australian branches, some are more up to date than some of the others who are sort of got their head in the sand a little bit and refusing to sort of believe what's happening and a little bit in denial. Or they're just towing a line that they've been told to, saying, we're all good, nothing's like, no problems, whatever. When you're like, how can you guys be okay when everyone else is not? And then a week later, you get the call saying, hey, you want to talk about your orders? Like, we're going to be way behind. So everyone's hit, basically. Some brands have gone about strategizing, getting stuff in earlier. So loading up on what's available now, we're carrying them through. You'll find the shoes will update less in the future. So, for instance, in the past, we might have seen shoe updates once a year. You might see shoe updates once every 2 years now, just because it's safer for them to do that. It's cheaper for them to do that. They'll use the line, we want more consistency in our range, but it comes down to dollars, and it's cheaper to do that. Like the advice right now is if you got a shoe that you need over summer, you need to get it. Like, don't just think, I'll just sort it out when the time comes. Even I've been getting shoes and putting them aside for me because I know I'm going to have trouble getting them for myself. So I'm pulling the trigger.
So many Saucony shifts your way, mate.
Oh, mate, if I could find another, I'm going to have to buy them full price somewhere because I don't think I can get them anymore. But maybe like I tend to be a bit rash with my decisions with this. So in 2 weeks, I might hate them.
So a listener question comes in from me in relation to children's shoes. And we're going to start with Tom because Tom's kids are the oldest in this through here. So let's, Tom, you got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, or a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old?
Yeah.
Is that right?
3 and 5. Yeah, 3 and 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
what's the question?
So what's the question, Nitta?
The question is, what do you recommend for your kids to wear from day to day and for activity purposes?
So essentially, when I'm looking for shoes, I do the old bend test. So I essentially just want to find a shoe that, well, actually before that, is the fit. This is like with fitting a running shoe. Like before you try the comfort of the shoe, the fit is important. I think the fit is probably more important with kids.
So what attributes of the fit are important for a kid? You know, you've got Julian has got Pia. Pia is what, 1 month old now?
2 months.
Hey, 2 months. Sorry, 2 months. My bad. My bad. Yeah, Zara's 16 months now, and Zara as well. So you go 16 months. What are you looking for in a fit?
So it's obviously the main thing is like the length. You want to get a shoe that's not too short, and you want to make sure that you're checking it regularly. I've even I'm a podiatrist, and the other the other month, I obviously wasn't checking regularly enough, but Leo was in a pair of shoes that were too small. And I was like, okay, that's bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, the length. You got to get the length right to begin with, obviously. So
what happens if they don't? What are the consequences?
Well, there's actually, I don't know if you saw that, Nitta, but did you see Japanese study that just came
did.
out?
The HIV study or the
the HIV study. Yeah, so hallux valgus, so bunions. So you can increase, like, it just looks like there's like increased risk of things like bunions, which is basically a deviation of the big toe across towards the second toe.
Well, that was the biggest risk factor was ill-fitting footwear.
Yeah, ill-fitting footwear.
Yeah.
In kids.
Yeah.
I think it was what they were like primary school age kids, I think.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous. Like, so there was I think it was something like 70% of the kids they found were in shoes that were too short, didn't have adequate length. To them, I think it was they wanted 10 mil as optimal, which I thought for a kid is maybe a little bit excessive, but But
Probably,
they found I think it was something like 30% were in a shoe that was either right on their toe or shorter than their foot. 30%. It's a lot. They're in their shoes that they're literally too small.
Absolutely.
So it increased the risk of bunions by a lot. Like those kids in that group, I think it was like 30% increased risk of a bunion or something. So the length is something you get right to begin with, and then it's something you got to keep checking with kids. Like kids' feet are going to grow and grow at random times. So you'd look at a simple way to do it is you can obviously feel from the top, but if you take the insole out, if it's a shoe that has an insole, you can look at the indentations of their toes and how close they are to the end of that insole, and you can see quite easily that way. So I'll check their shoes that have insoles in that manner. But then I guess the fit thing is toe box. So I know, Nitta, you've got that ridiculous sock shoe there to show. Yeah. So it's like an infant sock shoe, right?
It is. It's called Atipas or something like that. I didn't research it. My wife researched it. She's way more educated than I am, and I'm a podiatrist. But Zara wears these, and they're way too long for her, but her toes can expand in them. So, but they are really, really wide. So, and they're like a sock and a rubber sole, basically. So, but she's literally been walking for like a month and a half. So it's not like it's a performance-orientated shoe by any means. She's literally just weight-bearing on this piece of rubber so she doesn't step on something.
Yeah. Yeah. And that would be fully flexible, right? That's just...
This shoe is an in-and-out shoe. I can turn it inside out and put it in the wash and squash it. And sorry, on my iPhone. Yep. Yeah.
So they call those it's an anatomical toe box, and in young kids, they like any kid you'll have. If you got young kids, you look at their forefoot, and you look at the from the big toe to the fifth. That's normally the widest part of their foot. Whereas most adults, the widest part becomes the ball joint, like from the side of the first MPJ to the fifth. The toes just gradually. They just gradually come together as we get older, and it's probably to do with footwear. Because that natural splay we do tend to lose due to just footwear use over the years.
So it was funny. Chicken from the running company, he gave me the Nikes, and they're anatomically more compared to a lot of other kids shoes that I've seen. Yeah. They're anatomically well fitted. Like they're almost like a bit of a mini Ultra. They're not as wide as the Atipas by any means, but compared to other kids' shoes, they're very wide in the forefoot. So, so Zara's worn this a few times. It's a bit big for her, but I still put them in because it's good for Instagram. So, yeah.
It's funny, Nitta. I got this one. I think it's the newer version, maybe. You can see. Look how fat that shoe is.
It's got laces. It's got laces. That's sweet.
Yeah, laces and Velcro, but it's a little chode of a thing. Like it's nearly as wide as it is.
It is. The forefoot's the widest. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, do you have kids? Do you have those mini Alpha Flies there?
No, I got these though. Well, we should talk more. Tommy, I'll let you keep going. Tell us more
Tommy.
about kids.
I mean, I was probably probably not far off finishing anyway. So the fit's probably the most important thing, and then the function of the shoe is just I guess the weight and stiffness are two big things. You don't want something that's heavy, and a lot of time the real heavy shoes are also quite stiff, so you struggle to bend the forefoot. So this is like an example of my daughter's shoe. So you want it just to bend like super easy. And it can bend anywhere. Like it doesn't have to be stiff through any part of the shoe. It doesn't need a shank, which, old school podiatry sort of would say in adult shoes, you want it to bend in the forefoot and not to bend anywhere else. So you wouldn't want it to bend there, but that's not the case for kids. It doesn't matter. And even for adults, like I don't really think it's that important unless for specific people with certain conditions. So bending all the way through the sole is a good thing. So it just needs to be flexible, and relatively light, and still like a toe box that's like, not too tapered, like not tapered at all, just as sort of squared off and rounded across the big toe as possible. Actually, I've got Leo a pair of these.
Zara's only 15 months or 16
Squared
months. So she does what she's told, right? Do your kids at 3 and 5 like complain about the shoes they wear in terms of like aesthetics or comfort?
Nah, comfort, no. Aesthetics, just my daughter, because she's just classic girl that's like wants sparkly things.
Okay, fair enough. Yep.
So she just
Does a kid shoe need to have a heel in it?
So I've got them both. I think you maybe saw this on.
Nice. That's sweet.
Kids.
Yeah.
So I went to New Balance outlet and picked up. They both got like matching New Balance shoes, and they are literally so excited about these. It was so hilarious. They were like, they were running up and down outside the front of the store. They were like, I can run fast now. But all these kids runners, they have a drop, right? So they do have, and I'm not pretentious about that. I think, what's that?
It's not a specific drop, like 3 or 4 mils, 5 mils.
No, maybe, I don't know. Like there's no tech specs. There's no tech specs for this stuff. So you feel it. So I can feel that there's a drop. And I had a pair of Adidas for my daughter Poppy that felt like it had like a decent drop in it. And most of the kids runners have a drop. And like they're not in them that often. I think most shoes, when they're adults, they're going to have a drop. So I'm happy for them to develop as kids with a little bit of a drop. So a lot of other shoes, like this casual one, is totally flat. I'll get them going barefoot when they can and when it's safe to go barefoot. But it's just what it is. What's on the market, and I'm not.
What about when they go to Tassie? When they go to Tassie, Tom, do you get them in like these massive, like welly boots or whatever? Or
I got them wellies, as my wife calls them.
Wellies are good, aren't they? Yeah, these are zero drop wellies though, but they're high stack. They're like the ultra of wellies, mate. Wide forefoot.
Nice. Probably get them ultras.
Can you even get kids ultras? I mean,
I think you can now. I've got a shoe that it's actually doesn't fit any of that criteria.
Oh, you're kidding.
That's amazing.
So these were a gift from a friend of mine who had them for his daughter. And then when she grew out of them, he wanted them to go to a home that where they would be respected and loved.
Appreciated,
So you sit them on your own mantelpiece and just look at them.
Yeah, like I try to get my foot in them sometimes.
So they're an Air Jordan, right?
This is the Air Jordan 1. It's actually a retro. It's not from the 86 or whatever when this one actually came out. I think it was from sort of early 2000s. They're
Air Force
cool,
Ones.
like the colorway. No, they're the Air Jordan 1. Not the
Air Jordan 1. Okay.
Yeah. But they're really stiff. They're heavy. They're leather. They're going to be awful for the kids.
That's just for the photos. Let's just get them in the shoe, get a few snaps.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? What do you guys reckon about that question? Well,
it's tough, mate. Like, I mean, Zara functions much better in a shoe that does fit not too big and not too small. So like that typical sweet spot, right? So she's too big. She just doesn't like wearing them. She sort of like has a steppage gait. She lifts her foot up and goes over the ground. And when she's too small, for example, like you can tell she's like taking shorter, faster steps. So when the shoe fits her pretty well, she functions really well. So the reason we picked this Adipas is that, she's not really walking much. So she can't run fast. So like a bit wider shoe with not much midsole is not a bad thing for her. She's not hitting the ground. And she definitely, when she put the Nikes on for the first time, because there's more midsole, she sort of walked over the ground as well. Like there must be a bit of a barrier between the ground and so what she perceives. It changes her gait attributes a little bit. But then, after a week or two, the gait looked completely normal on the shoe. So she solved the puzzle. The central nervous system gets clever, picks up what the shoe's like. It's still nice and lightweight, fits the foot in, and she's, back functioning really well in the shoe. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're probably lucky because we can see what normal function sort of looks like from day to day. But I think at the end of the day, if the kid's not tripping and they're not complaining, the shoe runs good to length, a mild pitch in a shoe is not a problem. But at a really, really young age, having a zero drop shoe is probably not a problem either, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the store, we see that a lot of parents come in and chasing support. We need a very supportive shoe for our children, and we have to break that down a little bit, kind of like you guys have, and just be like, I don't really think you want your foot controlled at this young age. We prefer shoes that have more flex, like you guys said, and a lighter, and just allow the foot to be more of a foot rather than as like a control shoe. Like there's the Asics Kayano for kids. It costs like $180 and it's heavy and stiff, and it's like why is this a thing? Why is this considered safe and popular? Or like if you spend the money, then you're giving your child a better experience and it's safer for them. It's not
evidence based. It's not evidence based. It's perception based because of adult evidence, and which is still pretty poor as well. So, but I guess if a market is adult based and you can convert it to kids, people just gravitate to what they think if it works for them, it'll work for their children, doesn't it? So
we don't stock them for that reason. It's would rather have that 15-minute conversation and maybe lose a customer than put a child in something like that really doesn't need it. I mean, the other one, though, is we do get a lot of kids with severs who come in the store, and they could potentially do with a little bit more stiffness in their shoe, maybe a little bit more heel as well. And so, like, it doesn't necessarily mean we put them in a strong support shoe, but most of the time they're coming in just poor footwear anyway. And so going through a shoe. So our biggest shoes from in the kids range is the Nike Pegasus, which just sort of owns kids footwear, and then New Balance 880 as well as the Asics Cumulus. Yeah.
And the 880 was one of those New Balance shoes that sort of used the adult foam as well, didn't they? They used and I think Asics maybe used more like a polyurethane material for a period of time rather than an EVA in their kids' shoes.
Oh, yeah.
And so it felt much firmer.
There was some awful kid shoes getting around.
Yeah, got it.
Saucony had a range that was just
I don't get that.
Garbage.
A lot of the kids' shoes, the midsole feels firmer than the adult shoe, which to me makes no sense. Like it's a small body weight you're putting through this shoe.
But mum
must
and
be
dad
a durability thing they're looking
exactly.
for.
Mum and dad want a durable shoe, don't they? So
and cost. It's cost.
Yeah, true, cost as well. Yep.
Yeah. They can't make these shoes. They can't make a kid's Kayano of the same materials and charge $120. They got to like at $180. I'm pretty sure they still lose money. I heard that once the Nike actually don't. This could be total false, but they don't actually make a profit from their kids' shoes because the idea is that they.
Well, this is EVA.
Loyalty early.
I believe this Nike Free that I'm holding right here. This feels like an EVA foam. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's Nike Free. It should be.
Should be, yeah. So, I mean, that sort of shoe is a bit of a no-brainer. It's a real halfway point. Nothing complicated. Nice anatomical fit.
This one here is the same.
The kids' Frees are great. Yeah.
This little Free's soft. This actually feels quite soft and spongy.
Put your toe on it. Put your toe on it, Julian.
I can't wait till she starts wearing shoes. Jeez.
Yeah.
It was the best. It was the best seeing my two, like how excited they were when they put these new runners on. It was so funny.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's over an hour.
It is, guys.
Alright.
Sorry, it went a bit longer than normal, but so Tommy, we won't actually see you or speak to you much, at least on the podcast before the Melbourne Marathon. Best of luck, and
Cheers, thank you.
mate, if anyone needs luck, it's you. You know, you've deserved a big performance, and I think this time will be the one. So
I'm just going for that the podcast PB. Just got to get What's your PB, Julian?
Damn.
What is it?
What?
42.
42.
2:14:42.
All right, no problem.
Am I the superior athlete still?
You're a superior marathon athlete on this podcast. Tommy's been pretty good over those in between distances. Yeah.
No one cares about them, Nitta.
All right. Well, you guys have a good month,
Cool.
and we'll touch base in January. I don't think any new shoes are going to be coming out between now and then. I might get some samples from my brands, but I think it would be a case of just getting it done and touching base and seeing how Tom.
Oh, Nitta.
Lost
All
you.
right, I'll soften Nitta. All right. Good luck, Tom.
Sounds good. All right, thanks,
Good night,
mate.
guys.
All right, we'll chat to you soon.
But here I stand, a man whose roots he understands, and I'm gonna hold my head up high. I was told as a young man, doesn't matter if you're white or black. Just show love to everyone you meet, doesn't matter if it don't come back. Understood.